My name's Nick, this is Walter, and welcome to the shop. This workbench video actually starts a few years ago. I had glued up these laminations to make a workbench with, and then time just passed and they got lost in the shuffle, so figured I might as well make something out of them. And I'm playing around with different ways to make these videos, so if you like this voiceover kind of format, let me know in the comments below and I'll continue doing it. So the first thing I wanted to do with these is clean up the edges a little bit. I didn't have a planer when I was gluing them up, so they're still pretty rough on both sides. Unfortunately, the bigger one was a little bit too big for even my planer. And you'll see this kind of goofy notch on the other end. I was originally thinking I would try and do a makeshift end vise, but with it being too big to go through the planer, I didn't care about it enough to try and do it by hand, plane it all by hand, so that's going to get axed in this process too. Hey, buddy. And because this piece was too big for my circular saw to cut all the way through in one pass, I ended up flipping it over upside down, and then I'm making the same cut on the bottom of it. Now that I've got both of the pieces to the width that I want them, I'm going to work on the depth again. Now this isn't the best way to get perfectly even top and bottom, just putting it in on one side then flipping it over and putting it on the other, because it could still have some cupping to it. But I found that it worked out pretty well for me, and I certainly wasn't going to go through more effort to plane it by hand. It always amazes me how different a planer can make a piece of wood look. If you've seen how raggy this piece was in the first shot, and that's how it's been for the last several years, to see a moderately nice finished top is just completely different. Here I'm putting them together the way that I think that I want them, and you'll see this big bow in the middle. I didn't really do anything about it, and it certainly showed in the end product, but it's not the end of the world to have a little bit of a crack. Most of it will get cut off at some point. I got a biscuit joiner for Christmas this past year, and I haven't gotten a chance to use it yet, but I thought that this would be a perfect project for it. So here I am laying out the lines to get the biscuit cut on both sides. This certainly isn't necessary to complete this project, but when you think about how long it would take to plane out this whole surface by hand if you misaligned it, biscuit joiner becomes a real valuable tool real quickly. I've done a couple glue ups of around this size at this point, and for some reason it never seems to get any less stressful. The video is sped up, but I think you could probably still see me being a little bit antsy through here. Luckily with those biscuits, it really helps align everything and takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. But still, something that I don't want to plane down that's this big, it always worries me a little bit to try and get it as good as I can. And here I'm cleaning up the glue with just a wet rag. I found it's way easier to do this while it's still wet than coming back later with a paint scraper or a chisel to get it off. And then the next day, just taking the clamps off. Here's a clip of Walter because he was cute and needed attention. Pretty satisfied with the glue line. It's not perfect and there's that crack, but it could be a lot worse. Time to start on the base. Again, just using 2x4s for this build. And when I'm using 2x4s, I really like taking the bull nose off of each side, and then you just end up with a 3" by 1.5" board, and it makes joinery a lot easier. Pretty soon here you'll see the power go out because my circuit doesn't like the table saw and the dust collector running at the same time. Which means we get to make a mess when we're sawing things now. So I'm cutting 4 pieces at 30 3/4 inches, 4 pieces at 38 inches, and 5 pieces at 15 inches, along with 4 pieces at 3 inches, but that's not super necessary if you don't want to. This is all in an effort to make a workbench that's around 34 inches tall, the working height. So if you wanted it to be a little bit taller or a little bit shorter, you know, you'd have to adjust accordingly. And I'll do my best to provide the SketchUp link that I used in the description or a pinned comment at the top if you're interested. If you have any questions, leave them below in the comments, and with the 3 or 4 I get on a video, I'm happy to answer any questions I can. And if you're enjoying this so far, I'd welcome you to like and subscribe. Hang out with me as I build some more stuff. So I'm using a countersink bit and number 9 starhead screws, 2.5" long, in the impact driver. I found that these are a really good size for 2x4s, and I almost exclusively use starhead bits now just because they don't strip like Phillips heads ones do. The 2 pieces you see running front to back are the 38" pieces, and then we're using 3 of the 15" pieces as the cross braces for them. This is going to end up being the bottom support / shelf once we start putting things together. And then this is the top one. Same exact thing, except we're only using 2 of the cross braces on this one. And then with the top piece upside down on the workbench, I've got the 30 3/4 pieces. Those are going to be the legs, and I've just got them positioned in the corner, so they're screwed into the inside of these braces. And now you can see me struggling to get the bottom on. Still struggling, and we got it. This is where those 3" pieces come in. They're going to be spacers from the bottom for the shelf below. Probably not super necessary for weight distribution, but they sure help with aligning it and making sure that it's as flat as possible. So we did that on each of the 4 sides, and now we have a structure for our worktop to sit on. Pretty cool feeling to have the workbench top on. And here I'm cutting off the end. You can see the two cuts that weren't so great before it. I was using this Bora guide, and I gotta say that I'm not super impressed with it. It seems to not stay and put in place very well. And then I had started cutting this with a handsaw, but realized a reciprocating saw would be a lot faster. Now we're clamping on the workbench top, countersinking some holes in, and I'm going to use those star head screws again, except now I'm using 3.5 inch to make it through the 2x4s long ways. Then I added a small shelf on the bottom, and voila, we have a workbench. And if you watched it this far, I wanted to thank you and welcome you to like and subscribe for more. As always, have fun building.